Yes, so it's Murray Kirk. I'm Head of Cloud Services at YouView. I've got a short presentation today. I'm going to provide a reminder about YouView. I'm going to talk in a bit more detail about our new next-gen platform, about the user experience and the platform. And I'm going to offer 3 operational insights that I hope will not be obvious to at least some members of this audience. So a bit about YouView. So we offer live, recorded and on-demand TV via a range of devices, set-top boxes, mobiles, connected televisions. We do this for BT and TalkTalk subscribers and also for retail customers. We're a joint venture, so we're owned by BT and TalkTalk, also the public service broadcasters, that's BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5, and also the DTT operator Arqiva. We launched in 2012, and since then we've been growing our platform and making it better. So we're primarily a content discovery platform. We're an open platform, so YouView is very much what it is today by virtue of the range of applications and players that integrate as part of this. And it's a growing platform. So last year we counted 2.5 million active devices, and that's been growing since then. So we've got ambitious and demanding shareholders, some of them are in this room, and that means we need a platform where we can develop new features quickly and scalably, and hence the need for next-gen. So we've been rolling out next-gen for the last couple of months, and we've nearly reached our entire user base now. So it's more visual. You can see here an example of the main menu. The idea with the main menu is we're hoping that many viewers can achieve most of their content discovery journeys with just this. Very simple and very visual. But you can go full screen and get a more detailed experience if you want. It's more personal, so right now we offer people being able to make their own recordings and do remote bookings, but we're going to be adding continue watching, watch later and recommendations into the mix soon. And it's more cloud-based, so everywhere in YouView you see a menu like this. This has been assembled in and delivered from the cloud. And we do this for a range of reasons. The chief amongst this is we really want the set-top box and our other devices to be as simple as possible, where they can get on with the business of rendering the UI and showing video. Sorry about this, everybody. I couldn't resist it, but this is Adam Benjamin. He is our next-gen project manager, and as you can see, very pleased to be picking up 2 Connie Awards for next-gen. We won gold and silver for something or other, yeah, very happy, and thank you very much. But next-gen is not just about a new user experience, it's also a reimagining of our technical platform. So, HTML5, we had to move away from Flash, but when we selected HTML5, we thought it could be quite challenging addressing our entire device population with it. But we've worked very hard at it, and we're very pleased with the results. Cloud. So even since launch back in 2012, YouView's had a large proportion of its back-end services running in the cloud. And now with next-gen, that's now 100%. We've got everything running in Amazon. We've got a new microservices architecture. We've put in place a new continuous delivery platform. And this is starting to give us the kind of agility and scalability that we want. Data. So YouView is a full census platform. We collect data from all of our devices in the field. This concerns viewing, so what programs are people watching. It concerns operational data, so when the box boots or when you've got a problem, we want to find out about that. And new for next-gen, we're capturing behavioral data. So as people are navigating through our new application, we're finding out about that. In some cases, our designs are proving out as we hoped. In some cases, we have surprises and we need to make some improvements. And then the third-party toolkit. So we want to allow third-party applications and players direct access to our cloud services to achieve a more coherent content discovery platform experience across our platform. And we're also working on some new features there, for example, to be able to share identity and favorites. And then governing all of this, we introduce a new Agile and DevOps process. So, for example, we're able to make changes to our cloud services in a matter of minutes, and we do so every day. And we provide a significant new UI build every sprint. So that's enough about YouView in general and NextGen in general. I now wanted to change gear and go into a bit more detail on some of the insights that I mentioned that we gained as part of rolling out NextGen. So the first of these is about an API gateway. So we found an API gateway to be essential. We choose to front all of our cloud services with an API gateway. It provides three functions for us. So the first one is really straightforward and simple. It basically maps external URLs to internal AWS cloud service names. The second is related to the third-party toolkit that I mentioned. So if we're going to open up our cloud services, we better protect them. So we only allow access to authenticated applications, and for a particular viewer's resources, for example, their recordings list, we only allow that viewer access to that, and it's the gateway that's enforcing that. And then finally, and it's really for this point that I chose to include this as an insight, the gateway provides a single point where we can, at very high fidelity, in real time, discover all of the activity that's hitting our cloud services. And this was really important as we rolled out NextGen, because we were introducing some new services which we thought could have some very challenging latency and load properties. And we just didn't know how they would perform in the wild against the whole population. But with the API gateway and using technologies like Grafana and Elasticsearch, we were able to see exactly what was happening across all of our services as we started the rollout, and then make very accurate projections as to what that was going to look like for our entire user base. So key insight is this kind of eyes-on approach, extremely useful from an operational perspective when you're launching something big. The second insight that I have, this is really all about load. And so TV usage generates a spiky workload, but it's practical and economical to meet that. So I'm sure we all have an idea about the peaks and troughs during a typical viewing day that you get with a viewing population. And live TV, by definition, is synchronous. Now, if you're going to hang functionality off synchronous events that rely on cloud services, you better make sure you've got a very scalable back end. And this is exactly what we wanted to do for some aspects of NextGen. So the example I've got here to illustrate this point is synchronizing recordings information from set-top boxes to the cloud. So why would we want to do that? Well, first of all, we have a general policy in YouView. We do as much as possible in the cloud rather than on clients. Second of all, we want to present back to clients hybrid content discovery lists, and not just lists of recordings, but recordings mixed with watch later, continue watching, recommendations and other things. The best way to implement something like that is to do it in a single place. The best place to do it is in the cloud. We also want to inform third-party applications of the recordings that people are making, again for a better coherent content discovery experience. So we sync from the box to the cloud, and then we can deliver that information back out to other applications. And then lastly, we want the information about what content people are recording for analytical purposes. So what this means is that for a viewer, when they've booked to record a program, if their box is active, when that program starts airing, we're going to do a cloud sync. And that's happening for all of the boxes across all of our population, and it generates very high load. So this is an example day. It's actually a real day that I've picked, but all days look quite similar to this. The top part of the graph, and this is really showing you what's happening. This is our kind of view of what's happening from cloud services. So the top graph shows you latency. For the most part, nice and low, way less than 0.1 of a second, and that's P99, so that's exactly what we want to see. And then the bottom is showing you load. So ignore the first couple of peaks. They're related to some operational procedures we run, for example, software download. For the rest of the day, you can see that, well, for the average load that we're serving up, it's kind of following what you would expect from viewing. It's kind of low in the morning, and it's growing in the evening. But look at these spikes, and these spikes are basically what's happening because we're doing a cloud sync of synchronous events. So let's zoom into that, and again, we can do this really easily in real time with Grafana and with our API gateway. So this is now showing you what's happening in the evening. You can see more clearly on the half-hour and the hour boundaries when programs are finishing and when programs are starting, we're generating this load. And just look at the relative height. So really spiky, and they hit really quickly. So in fact, on this day, Maximum load we achieved was 2,600 transactions per second. We've seen as high as 8,000. We think we're going to see higher when we see very popular programs all coincident together across channels. And we're working on some new features not related to this, where we think we're going to have to go higher still and possibly serve even hundreds of thousands of transactions per second. But the insight is, as part of NextGen, we now believe it's practical to serve up these kind of very high loads as part of a TV system. And then my final insight is about cloud elasticity and how it needs to get better. So don't get me wrong, big fan of cloud infrastructure. I don't think we could have launched NextGen in the way we did without it, but it does need to get better. So from a technical perspective, auto-scaling is often touted as a great mechanism for dealing with a variable workload. But it relies on spinning up new virtual instances, and that takes several minutes. Now, I've just shown you our workloads. We don't have a few minutes to wait for a new instance to spin up. So we can't use auto-scaling. We don't use auto-scaling in YouView. We do everything based on scheduled scaling, based on predictable workloads. You need to think about data access as well. So you're going to use something like AWS Dynamo. It's a very high-performance database, but you need to provision ahead of time maximum read and write capacities. And then you can only change those up to 4 times a day. Again, it's not really conducive to our workload. And then if we just look at it from a cost perspective, so you're going to pay for running an instance for an hour, even if you use it for a minute. You can do better than that with Amazon. So if you're prepared to reserve instances, I've got a handy little chart here, that will tell you that if you're going to reserve an instance for a year, you'll pay about 60% of the on-demand pricing. If you're prepared to reserve for 3 years, you'll pay about 40%. Now, these are extremely tempting savings to make when you've got quite a big back-end system and you've got your finance director breathing down your neck. But you're going to get lock-in to instance type, and you're going to get lock-in on spend. You can do even better than that with Amazon. So Amazon run an enterprise discount program. If you're prepared to spend a certain amount for at least a year, you're going to get a further discount. But again, more lock-in. CDNs are even worse. And let's not forget internal budgetary process. I'm sure YouView is not dissimilar from others. I need to provide a forecast for what we're going to spend for the upcoming year. And the problem with all of these together is that they just serve to tempt you to lock in and tempt you to get those savings. And I hate lock-in. So, cloud technology moves really quickly. I want to be free to select the best possible technologies, the best possible platforms at any point in time. So what's the answer for all of this? Well, I don't have all the answers. I'm raising it, and there's insight it needs to get better. I do think containers can be a big help on the elasticity perspective. That's something we're moving to at the moment in YouView. And then also, I'm a big fan of AWS. In general, YouView has had a great experience with Amazon, but I am starting to become more tempted by some of the other cloud platforms out there. For example, with Google, they've got some great stuff with BigQuery, it would seem, but just they're equivalent to virtual instances. You're going to pay for the first 10 minutes and then per minute thereafter. So that seems much more flexible and much more elastic and much more in tune with our workloads. Well, that's it, short presentation. I hope there's been something of interest for you. I think we're not taking questions, right? But I'll be around for most of the rest of the day. So if you want to talk to me about how you're using cloud services or find out more about us, be delighted. Thank you very much. Cheers.